Hello and welcome back. In this part, we're going to show you how to build a policy. This is the continuation of the previous video where we built network and host objects. We were preparing for the security policy. That's why we needed those objects in place beforehand. But if we need to check what objects we've created so far, from the top, you can actually click on Object Explorer. And from here, you have everything you need. So if we go to network objects, it shows you everything in the network object. So we don't want to see the things that are default configurations. We need to see, for example, the hosts. So we created hosts, if you can remember those. And then if we remove the hosts but put the networks, they are default ones as well. But you can see our DMZ, LAN, internal. Those are also this one, this one, this one, and this one. 4 networks we've created. And so what we have is actually those. Why do we have 2? Yes, need to remove this object. The name we have was actually internal LAN or inside LAN. So we can delete that from here. And then later we need to publish that change. That change will appear. So we have inside LAN 10.1. We have a duplicate. And then we have outside, which is 192.168.1 and the DMZ. So those are the networks we created. Also the hosts, as we checked earlier, and we have those subnets as well. And then now the security policy we discussed in the previous video, how we're going to build. These are the objects, but the rule base, we want to create sections between different groups of rules. And in the first one, we want to block anything that you find risky or your company as a policy, they don't want to use it. So here, when you have the rule base, you have the cleanup rule, and that cleanup rule will be a drop, but we changed it just to give us some space. Let's click on that 2 arrows, and then it gives us that window, much clearer. And also, if you want to reduce this bit, you can drag it to the left. And now we can see the policy targets. These are the firewalls we want to install. We've got only one firewall here, but if you want to manage a number of firewalls, you might want to edit this. And so in the security policy, you can change which policy goes to what targets. And this rule base, we want to make it block later on, but of course we need to allow what services we need to manage the firewalls. So let's click on that one. You can say right click and then a new rule above or below, or you can use the ones over here. They're the same. So if I use here, then a rule appears. We call that rule name. Let's double click there and then call it risky services or ports. And then where the source is, we call any. So any, and destination is any. Then all the services, no. Because if you block services there, then you won't be able to access anything. That's the top rule. So we need to check, we need to add the services we need. So search from here. I already searched the UDP high ports, but if you put here UDP high ports, click the plus sign and it adds in the list. If you have other ports, then you add. I'm just giving you the example, and I want to drop it, and I don't want to lock. Only if I want to troubleshoot and want to see what ports have been blocked. For example, you deployed a new service in your company, but that application or service is not working, then maybe this rule, which blocks everything in the high ports, is blocking it. So you might want to allow logging for a little while to see the logs, and then maybe pick what service or port has been blocked. Then that way you can troubleshoot. But this one, we're not logging anything, just to save space. And above that, if we click, we need to add section title. And that section title, we can call it block risky services. That's a section, and then you can collapse. But these 2 rules are going under that one. So we can say above the cleanup rule, add a section title above, and we can say deny all rule. Okay, that way you have now 2 sections, and each section has a rule here, and this one has a rule here. So, and rule number 2 is the cleanup rule. But we need to add, and underneath here, we need to add another section below, and we call this one firewall management. Firewalls management. management. So firewalls management, and this is actually the table I have here, the one I just showed you. I'm following this one, and we haven't created a group, but we can create a group. We have sections, and the first section, that one has the risk reports, and we're dropping it, and then we added a new section, firewall management. Here we're going to add rules, how to manage our firewalls. So the rule name, if you go to the policy, it says firewall management. Then the source, we need all our security team in this group for now. So we can create a new group. We don't have the group pre-created already, so we call it network group, and the team is called NetSec group, and our SOC admins, or network security engineers. Then we add their PCs, so management PC, if you remember, management PC, and then there was another object we created, SOC and admin. So those two IP addresses will be allowed to be part of that group. And then the destination is managing the firewalls. We don't have the firewalls group. Again, we create by clicking new and then adding groups, network group, and we call this new network group firewalls. And the firewalls, we add our management server. So CP, that's our gateway, and this is our management server, and we add that. But the ports we're going to manage, and let's call it any, let's leave it any, but of course you need to only reduce it to whatever services that are required, HTTPS, ping, and all these things. Then any, and the services, yeah, let's call it any, and we're allowing that, accept. We need to log, so we say log. And policy targets, I leave the default. I've got only one firewall, and that's the only firewall we're going to install policy. And that's the management. But firewall is talking to each other. The management talking to the gateway coming back. There's a communication between the management and the gateway. So we need to add that rule as well. So we can click on the rule and say add rule below. And we can say firewall communication. Firewall comms. Then the source is between the firewalls. So I already created the group from there. I can drag and drop, drag and drop. So two-way, firewall, the gateway and management here talking to the gateway and management. We can create that way because it's stateful. So, and the services, you can only allow the control. So if you have to go, you need to go to the documentation and see what services the firewall and the management use to communicate. For now, I'm leaving it any, and then I'm going to allow that bit and then say log, and then add to the policy. Anything that I don't want, firewalls communicating each other, the NetSec team managing the firewalls, that's allowed. Anything other than that, communicating with the firewalls, I'm going to block. So below, so, and we call that one stealth rule. That's how you would see anybody with checkpoint background writing that command. Stealth rule. And it says if you're coming from anywhere, trying to connect to the firewall, drag and drop with any services, drop, and then I need to log. So I need to see who's trying to reach the firewalls. Now I can collapse that bit. And now the firewall rule, firewall management is there, but our communication from our internal network is not there yet. So outbound, the internal network going outside is allowed. The inbound, we only allow HTTP and HTTPS, and anything else will be blocked. So let's go section above here. We can call rule above that, or a section above that, and we can call that rule outbound. I mean that section, outbound traffic or outbound. And under here, you can say create a rule below. So we're building the rules here, and this is outbound, let's call it. And it's coming from our internal LAN, and I think I call it inside LAN, yes. So 10.1, and then it's going to any destination on the internet, any services, we call it any, we're going to accept that, but log and see what's happening. And then that section is complete. That's the only thing we need. We have some services that people can access from the internet. So above here, I will create another section and I will call it inbound traffic, inbound web traffic. Let's call it web service. You have different sections in your policy, and then you can name them as per your company naming convention, whatever you want to do. So rule below that section, and we call it web service. What did we call in our documentation? Inbound. We call it inbound. Yeah. Okay. Inbound web service. Inbound. Let's call it web service. And you're coming from anywhere on the internet, we accept that, no problem, but only a dedicated DMZ server. So DMZ web, that's the machine, not the whole network. DMZ, yeah, we haven't created a machine there, but let's allow for now. We have the DMZ web, and the service we're allowing is only HTTP. So let's add plus here, HTTP. And we can allow HTTPS as well if we have. Then we can also add echo, the whole thing, and then we allow that bit over here. Then we log, and then we install. So we have now rules, and those rules are organized in sections. But at the end, we need to create this one as a deny all. Implicit deny is also there, but this one is the explicit one. So we're blocking that. Our rule base, whenever you want to manage, you have this nice view where you see all your content, and then you need to publish that change. So we're going to publish, created policy, and when you publish, then you need to install the policy. And in another video, I will show you how to do the installation and then accessing and testing. But first, we can actually do up to here. Thank you very much for your time, and see you in the next video.